Okay, so we are out here on the 9th green at Village Greens Golf Course. It is Thursday, June the 13th, and we are measuring the speed of the greens today. Brett Steck is our green superintendent here, and this is a homemade Stimpmeter made by Rob Olson, a retired engineer in Fond du Lac. So Brett, can you explain a little bit what you just did here?
So with the Stimpmeter, the way it's designed, it'll hold the ball to a certain point. Once you reach that certain point, lifting it up, the ball will roll and you hold it right there. You don't go any higher or lower because it'll alter the speed of the ball. But this gives you an average of the speed of the greens. So you do it a couple different ways in case it's not totally level and average it out.
Okay, and then our two averages there, did you just say we're 4.8 and 4.7?
Correct.
Okay, so you know, what kind of green speed would you see at the U.S. Open starting today?
I would guess it's up in the 12-13 range.
Okay, and for an average golf course, you know, that's not a U.S. Open or Augusta National, what would a person typically see?
Well, for instance, at the Muni across the way here, Gold Mountain, we would be shooting probably for a 10 or 11 on average, probably 10 for an average day, and then for tournaments, getting it up to 11.
Okay, so there was a day when, you know, 10 was kind of the holy grail for green speed, and over the past 20 to 25 years, that's increased considerably. You know, how have they been able to increase that expectation on green speed?
Well, there is a lot more equipment involved these days, such as turf rollers that the frequency that you can would mow every day. Then it'll be that fast every day. If you take a couple of days off, obviously the grass grows and it'll slow down. There's also different practices as far as verticutting, things like that will eventually flatten the surface out more, make them faster with your other programs in place. So really what you're shooting for is to make it nice and puttable, but not too hard for the public because it'll slow down play.
Now, different types of grasses have been developed over the years as well, which can withstand lower cuts, and has that made a big difference over the years as well? Has that contributed to it?
I would say definitely, and also the technology with the mowers has gotten a lot better, a lot more dialed in, and the machines that you maintain them with can make the cuts a lot cleaner.
Okay, so we estimated 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, when we got the golf course open again, we were actually kind of laughing. Our green speed was probably a little over 2. You know, so we have more than doubled the speed of our greens over the past couple of weeks. Can you explain why we can't go from a 2 all the way up to an 8 in one day?
Well, just like any other plant, grass, when you cut it down too low, too much at one time, what you'll do is you'll take the crown of the plant, which ultimately will either make it die off or make it susceptible to a lot more disease, and you'll end up having to use more chemicals to try to preserve its health. And so the best way to do it is to adjust your mowers once, let it sit for a couple of days, keep mowing it, adjust them again and again, and step down gradually to where you want to be.
So we've managed to more than double the speed of the greens, you know, over the past couple of weeks, which I think is tremendous. You know, I think we discussed, you know, a particular number we're trying to get to with our greens here at Village Greens. What are we trying to get these rolling at?
I would think that somewhere around an 8 on the Stimpmeter would be acceptable here, not only for the demographic of golfer that is golfing here, but also for the size of the greens. They are fairly small here, and if you make them too fast, golfers really have problems keeping anything on the green, and that'll slow down play and that will alter the experience of your customers.
Certainly not any fun, you know, when you just barely tap a putt and it rolls completely off of a green. And like you said, with these greens, you know, part of the character of our course here is the greens are small, and there are limitations as to how fast that we want to make these roll. So, you know, I think that we talked about getting these to an 8 to an 8.5, and getting a nice roll, which we'll talk about how we're going to get them to roll nicer in our next segment. So, Brett, thank you very much, and look forward to hearing more from us very soon.
Thank you, Joe.